Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Vayne updated complete guide, of course for the latest patch onwards, and as usual as well, of course, don't forget to check out Vayne's basic guide that I'll put up in the cards above to check out her skills leveling, order tips and tricks, as well as combos. So first up, Vayne's build. Well, Vayne's build is honestly super duper flexible at the moment. It's kind of mind-boggling how many items Vayne can build. And if you take a look at all the top builds for Vaynes, like pretty much the top 10 all have a different build, which pretty much just speaks to how there really isn't a fixed build for Vayne at the moment. I think it's two factors. Number one is personal preference, number two is matchup dependent. Now, for me personally, I only have one fixed item I build on Vayne every match, and that's Blade of the Rune King. The reason why I built this every match is because it gives you a really good amount of attack speed at the beginning of the game. It gives you physical vamp, and it also, of course, gives you the on-hit damage for the enemy's current health on hit, and also the drain passive to drain movement speed as well as deal a little bit of extra damage. Now, Vayne really likes two particular stats: attack speed and physical vamp slash omni vamp. Omni vamp, of course, is better because Vayne does true damage as well, so omni vamp is really good for Vayne. But basically, Blade of the Rune King gives you physical vamp, gives you attack speed, and of course the on-hit health, current health damage on hit, as well as the drain passive is really useful as well. Because personally, I only pick Vayne into heavily tanky teams, which means either 2 or 3 tanks. So for me, I always will pick Blade of the Rune King because of course, the two good stats that Vayne wants together with the Ruin Strikes passive. So I'm always going to build Blade of the Rune King first. So next item you're going to build is the boots. So honestly, the boots, you have many options. Attack speed boots is really good for an early game spike because 30% attack speed of course helps Vayne proc her passive a lot more quickly, and as such gives Vayne a lot more damage. However, in the grand scheme of things, in the later stages of the game, these boots actually do very little because you are going to build a lot of other attack speed items in your build, and you also have lethal tempo. So these boots are not going to be useful later on. However, you can go for something like Gluttonous Greaves, which of course gives you more AD and gives you the Omnivan, which is another stat that Vayne loves. Of course, here you also have defensive boots as options if you know you're up against teams that have very heavy defenses. So really quite a number of boot options, but normally as a default I still go for Berserker's Greaves. So now the next item you want to go for, your second core item, you want to go for an attack speed item. So here you have very many choices. Your first choice, the item that gives you the most attack speed, is going to be Phantom Dancer. So Phantom Dancer of course gives you a little bit of AD, but the main thing it gives you is a lot of attack speed, 55% in total, of course, but you do have to stack it, and it also gives you movement speed, which of course gives you the stacking movement speed, which is going to help you kite around a lot. So it's a really good item from Vayne. However, some other attack speed item options that you have is actually Solari Charge Blade, which of course is going to give you 40% attack speed, and it's going to give you the on-hit magic damage, which you're going to get a lot because every time you tumble, you're going to get a stack, and every time you use any of your abilities, you're going to get a stack. Vayne makes use of this item very well. And a third option is if you're against AP damage, you don't necessarily even have to build Merc Treads. You can just build Wit's End, which is what I do in the game later. You can just build Wit's End, which is going to give you 45% attack speed, magic damage, and of course, on hit, bonus magic damage, as well as healing when you're below 50% health. So then after you get like 3 attack speed items at least, you can start going into more lifesteal kind of items. So you can go for Shield Bow, which is of course going to give you like AD, more attack speed, vamp, and of course it's also going to give you the lifeline passive. Or you could also go for Bloodthirster, which is going to give you more AD, more physical vamp, and of course the Bloodthorn Shield. And then if you are, if you have enough damage and attack speed by the later stages of the game, I actually like personally going for like a Twin Guard or like a GA as my last item, because honestly I feel that Vayne a lot of the time, by the time you reach last item, you deal more than enough damage. You really don't need more damage items. I think that Amaranth Twin Guard especially is one of my favorite last items to go for, or sometimes even a second last item to go for, because sometimes Vayne really doesn't need more damage, she just needs more survivability. So with the attack speed and with the vamp, you're gonna be able to just sustain up together with the defenses from Twin Guard, and you're gonna be able to just get through the fight and just carry the fight. So of course, as I mentioned, pretty much the only fixed item I built on Vayne is Bork, and then I normally build Berserker's Greaves. So sometimes my third item could be, of course, either Phantom Dancer, or it could be one of these, and then as my next two items, sometimes I go for Bloodthirster first, sometimes I go for Shield Bow. I go for Shield Bow first. Sometimes I switch it up and build Twin Guard after the Shield Bow, for example. So really, Vayne's build is very very flexible. Now I know that especially as a guide video, this is not helping you guys out who want to learn a Vayne build, so I guess that you could use this as a default build, this build that I have here, but just know that as you get better at Vayne, you do want to start learning how to itemize depending on the matchup and depending on your own playstyle. So for the runes, of course, Lethal Tempo, because Vayne wants attack speed. I take Brutal pretty much because there are no other better options, even though Vayne's main damage comes from her Silver Bolts. Take Brutal for the on-hit damage. Coup de Grace for, of course, the damage against low HP targets. And interestingly enough, I don't actually take Giant Slayer on Vayne, even though Giant Slayer on Vayne is really really good because it deals bonus damage based on how much bonus health the enemies get. But since Vayne deals true damage from her passive on her W anyway, I think Giant Slayer is not that useful. I actually prefer to take Coup de Grace to help me out against squishier targets. And I like to take Bloodline for the Omni Vamp because, especially at the beginning of the game, you're building a lot of attack speed and you don't really build a lot of Vamp until later on in the game. So I like getting the Bloodline to get the early Omni Vamp. And Omni Vamp is of course really good at it for Vayne, and you don't really get Omni Vamp from anywhere in your build. It's all physical Vamp. So the Omni Vamp, which allows you to proc off of your passive, is going to be really really helpful. And finally, I like taking Bone Plating, of course, for the in lane and in team fight defensive capabilities. And for Vayne, you are always gonna go Ghost and Flash. No point of going Exhaust because even if you exhaust someone and they exhaust you, you're gonna deal true damage anyway. So you don't have to be scared of an enemy exhaust. You want the Ghost to just run around in fights because you have not the best range and you're really vulnerable. So you want that bonus movement speed to run around in fights. But with all that said, let's jump into our Vayne gameplay. Okay, so here we have the gameplay. Of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or reruns, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will definitely be sure to address them or drop a like. So, I think it's not too complicated when you want to pick Vayne. Basically, you want to just pick it against a tanky team, and by tanky team, I mean like, you want to pick it against like extra tanky people. Like if I see two like very tanky people, I'm picking Vayne. So here. Before we talk about that, here like Alistar just randomly face checks into the bush. We're just basically running him down. Honestly, I should have popped the Ghost a little bit earlier to try to run him down, but by the time I actually do it, he just flashes out. Either way, it's still a good trade because he basically lost all his health bar. He lost his flash, lost his ignite, whereas I only lost half my health bar and my Ghost, which is all right. Jin, of course, is still completely untouched because he's a little bit late to lane, but. Yeah, so here I'm just gonna go pop fruit, pick up some fruit, and we're back in business. So if I see like two very tanky champs on the enemy team, I'm picking Vayne. Champs like Alistar, Sion, they're super tanky, so I'm picking Vayne. So here, speaking of which, I'm just trying to whack the Alistar with my autos, and of course trying to pop my passive, and trying to just whack him down basically. And yeah, so Vayne really it's more so of what your enemy has and more so than what your team has. But if you were to choose for your support, Vayne definitely wants to play with Enchanters because she's a very very strong hyper carry and she just wants people to buff her up. So as you guys can see, I have a Leona in this match. Definitely not the most ideal support for me. You don't really care about having someone to engage for you. You really just want someone to just buff you up and prevent you from dying. But of course, any support kind of works. Vayne can always carry herself. She's very self-sustaining kind of ADC. Here, Master Yi, I have no idea what he's doing. Like he goes ahead and invades the enemy jungle, but he has a Vayne Leona as his bot lane. Like how is Vayne gonna rotate to help you out in the jungle? Anyways, thankfully to salvage the situation, we do get a kill onto Alistar, who gets a little bit over eager. Leona's really really low, and we're seeing if Jin's getting baited to go in. He wards the bush, so he knows it's a trap. He's not getting baited. Here. A flash 4th shot would actually kill Leona, of course, so she has to be very very careful. Here I try to go onto Jin. Unfortunately, Shyvana comes in. I try to flash away, but I do end up dying. Really nice flash from the Leona. And here it manages to root and stun the Shyvana under tower and trades 1 for 1. So here, nice Q by the Fizz to dodge the Lux ulti, and we are back in action. walking our way to lane. And yeah, so overall, pretty okay start to the game. 1 kill and 1 death. Huge minion wave has accrued under our tower, and we're just gonna start scooping up all those last hits, as you guys can see here. Vayne early game, generally nothing too much happens. It's generally a pretty bad early game and generally just farming, but you can look for opportunities to abuse certain lanes, especially when you're against engaged supports, like when they don't have their engage or when they already use their engage. You know, you can always go ahead and bully them, which is what we are doing a lot with this Alistar. You can do it with like Nautilus, Leona, and anyone else, but of course you have to be very aware of what their cooldowns are. Of course, Jhin is really strong in the early game, so we can't really do too much to him. In fact, he is probably looking to kill us, who has a very weak early game. Here, Alistar is just walking straight back in, goes for the engage. I shove him away. Unfortunately, Leona does die. I do pop the ulti though. Jhin is busy reloading, and here I'm just blasting down the Alistar. I pick up another kill on him. Jhin is really close to killing me with the 4-shot. I get the stealth from the invisibility. Now just playing the dodge game. I pop the ghost for the extra mobility to ensure that I don't die. Fizz comes in with a very, very nice gank to catch Jhin out. And here I managed to get an auto on Jhin to get the assist, while Fizz unfortunately picks up the shutdown onto Jhin. Jhin was 3-0-2 just now, which is something I honestly did not even realize, but he was kind of just picking up kills everywhere. I guess he, of course, killed me. I guess he killed the Master Yi, and like he basically just started getting pretty accelerated. But thankfully, after Fizz killed him, we're now actually a hit of him in terms of gold, so that's pretty good. So now, with Leona being able to basically one-shot the wave using her relic stacks, we are able to basically back and buy. So here we get both our Bork as well as an extra pair of boots. And you can see that, in terms of gold, me and Jhin are both around the same level. Of course, Lux is super duper fed. She's 4-1-2. And we have to deal with another fed Lux, much like yesterday's video where we had to deal with that that fed Lux as well, just one-shotting us as Caitlyn. We have to deal with another fed Lux, which is just great. Lux mid with first strike is becoming like really, really irritating to play against. It used to be a Lux support that's the problem because of the shield. Now it's Lux mid just based off the pure damage that's the problem, which is, yeah, Lux is just a really, really strong champion in general. So here the enemy team obviously has a Shyvana. Shyvana picks up the dragon. Master Yi decides to go for the Herald instead, which is, which is okay. It's just a trade. Of course, Master Yi would be able to pick up gold from tower plates most likely, and hopefully get the first tower, which should give us a gold advantage. Hopefully. But yeah, not much we can do here. We're just gonna clear out the minion wave, and we're just gonna back. With Vayne, the early to mid game is sort of just biding your time, making sure you don't die too much, just trying to slowly scale up. Even if you don't get kills, it's alright. Your time to shine always comes in the mid and late game. Always some team fight, some skirmish breaks out somewhere where, you can basically get off a really good fight, carry your team, and, just basically get the game-winning play off of that. So here, Leona actually catches Jhin out with the ulti and the stun, but unfortunately I'm a little bit too far away to get the condemn onto the wall. Honestly, I could have maybe just flash condemned him into the wall, but didn't really want to take that kind of risk. Here, Alistar goes onto me basically alone, pops the ult, but we do true damage, of course, with our passive, so we do get the kill onto Alistar. Yi actually pops the Herald here, and we are able to pick up the first tower, as well as all of the tower plates. We barely managed to dodge Lux Q, and here, since the enemy bot lane is dead, we're actually trying to escort the Herald in for a second charge. So here, after the Herald has basically gone for the charge, I'm straight away backing away because I know Herald's going to get the charge and we're safe. For some reason, Master Yi overstays, sticks around, gets caught by the Lux ulti and just dies, which is really something that's completely just needless. No reason for that to happen. Like, he should have just left when I was leaving and he would have been completely fine, but he decides to stay for too long. Don't know if that was don't know if he was trying to kill the Lux, or don't know if he was trying to make sure the Herald crashed. But if he was trying to make sure the Herald crashed, he definitely stayed for way too long. But either way, it's just a disaster because Master Yi just died. But it is what it is, and we're just gonna head back to lane and just continue picking up farm. As you can see, in this particular match, we decide to go for, instead of Phantom Dancer or Solari Charge Blade, we decide to actually go for our Wits End as the second item. And even though there's really only one AP on their team, which is the Lux, she is by far the most fed member of their team and the biggest threat to us. I say biggest threat really loosely because in reality their whole team is full of big threats. If Alistar or Shyvana gets on top of us, that's not going to be good. Jhin has a lot of damage and Lux can just one-shot us. So the main reason why I say Lux is the biggest threat is because Lux alone has the highest chance of killing us. Like with Alistar or Shyvana, you normally need a little bit of follow-up, or Shyvana takes a little bit of time. Jhin kind of needs either to run us down outright, or he needs someone to CC. But Lux, if she hits a root on us, she can just one combo us and we're just dead 100-0. So here, speaking of which, I try to actually condemn and flash over to kill the Lux, but unfortunately Alistar is here to protect her, and here Jhin is coming in as well. Here we dodge another Lux binding, and here I'm just trying to finish the kill onto Alistar. I end up chasing in to kill the Alistar, but Sion ends up showing up and turning the fight. I think the fight was very winnable before Sion showed up, because I honestly think that I could just roll around and dodge Jhin and Lux's spells. Unfortunately, because I died now, here the team fight just breaks out, but I'm not alive, and my team basically just gets destroyed by the enemy team, with the exception of the Fizz, who manages to get a pick on Sion off the side and manages to run away. So here, Fizz is trying to recall, but Shyvana just face checks into the bush, gets annihilated by the Fizz ulti, and Fizz picks up another kill. He runs into the Jindo, who's trying to run him down. He flashes the wall, and he's out scot-free. So unfortunately, a little bit of a lapse in decision making from me there. Shouldn't have chased the Alistar kill, because we didn't know where the enemy team was. So based on the information that we had, we should have just backed off, because we didn't have information on where those other champions were. So here we're just going to back. Now we have completed our Wits End, so double attack speed and basically double healing items as well, actually, because physical van from the Bork, and got of course the on-hit healing when we're below 50% health from the Wits End. So really strong attack speed and sustain items that we have bought. And here the next dragon is up. So here Alistar gets a beautiful 3-man combo. Caitlyn gets rooted. Here I'm just blasting the Alistar down, of course using my true damage. Alistar can't really tank my damage, and we eventually do pick up the kill onto Alistar. We kite back because Shyvana's jumped in. Here we're just trying to blast the carries if we can. Unfortunately, Sion is the one that's just running straight at us, so we're just going to focus Sion first. And here we get the kill onto Sion. Lux is really low. We're just going to wait for her to counter the stasis, finish off the kill onto the Lux, and we basically get an ace on the enemy team, which is, as I said, a team fight like this is bound to happen sooner or later, where it's a full-on like 5-on-5 team fight, and so long as you play correctly, kite out your enemies, and not just run face first and die at the start of the team fight, you are going to be able to carry these fights, which is exactly what we demonstrate here. So here you can see the lifesteal. We can basically just lifesteal off the minions back to full health, and here, of course, with Dragon secured, mid lane farm secured, and nothing too much on the map to do, we're gonna just back, restore our mana, and start buying. So in this match, I decided to actually go for Bloodthirster as my third item instead of going for Shield Bolt, because I personally felt that I wouldn't get one shot by the Lux because I have my Wits End. So I didn't feel like I needed that Shield Bolt for the shield, and I felt that I'd rather have the Bloodthirster just for the pure damage, because of course Bloodthirster gives you 55 AD, which is more than Shield Bolt's 40, and yeah, so just prefer that Bloodthirster, and more healing as well, more sustain from the Bloodthirster as well, which over the course of a long fight is going to provide more value than Shield Bolt. Of course, Shield Bolt is a little bit more of an anti-burst item, whereas Bloodthirster is a little bit more of an anti-DPS item. So here we're just basically staying in mid. Of course, general mid-game macro, ADC generally stays in the mid lane to get easier rotations. Here, just getting a few free autos onto the Alistar, because why not? Alistar does have Thornmail as his first item though, which is really annoying because it does of course cut our healing, which is going to be pretty unfortunate. Lux here basically just one-shots the wave, but we managed to get the kill onto the tower, and we managed to jump onto the Lux. We get the kill onto the Lux, and Alistar is now the next target. Unfortunately, the Condemn does not finish him off, and here I can't really reach him, but Caitlyn out does manage to secure the kill. So here Shyvana for some reason tries to run into our entire team. She of course just gets evaporated by me. And here, once again, only Sion is left alive to defend, so we're gonna be able to try to force down this tower. Sion, of course, can't really just one-shot away. Can get pretty close to it though if he spams all of his spells on it. Here, Leona gets the beautiful engage and into the ult, but unfortunately escapes. Here, I try to help the Leona tank the Jhin shots, but it ends up being a huge mistake because by helping her tank the Jhin shots, I end up in the path of a Sion knockup, and the Sion knockup allows Lux to ult me and Jhin to get the 4th shot on me, which basically literally kills me 100 to 0. So I guess blocking for the Leona was a mistake, which was pretty sad. You know what they say, no good deed goes unpunished. Anyways, here. This is really funny. So Caitlyn takes the enemy fruit, goes back to our side, gets our fruit, goes to the river, takes the river fruit, and then goes to over here and takes her 4th fruit. I just found this really funny. I know she has sweet too, so that technically gives her a lot of gold, but I just found her going around and popping 4 fruit within like 30 seconds, like just something really funny. But but yeah. So regardless, we completed our Bloodthirster, so we're at now 3 item power spike. Of course, we're really strong now. And here, we were actually trying to pick up the Raptors, where we decided to kite towards the Caitlyn because it looked like Caitlyn could be in trouble if she gets ulted by Sion and just gets comboed. So I was rotating to try to help her out, but turns out that she didn't really need help. So we're instead just picking up the Krugs instead of the Raptors, and we're just gonna go ahead and pick up the farm in the bot lane. So the red buff is up. We're just gonna quickly just pick up the buff share, and we're just going to head back to base. Probably pick up our boot enchant. Stasis completed. Of course, stasis is mainly for the Lux, because if we do happen to get hit by the Lux binding, we can of course just pop the stasis to prevent ourselves from being one comboed by the Lux. So yeah. So once again, really low chance of us getting bursted, so we don't really need that shield bow. Here, the next dragon's coming up in 20 seconds or so. Master is actually getting caught out by Shyvana together with Sion and Jhin. So here I'm actually rushing down to help him out. But it turns out he just popped the ult to run away. Honestly, good use of the ult. If he held on to the ult, he would have just died. And there's no use holding on to ult if you're dead anyway. So here, Fizz is actually split pushing the top lane of all places. Here, Alistar just walks straight past us. But of course, we want the Jhin, not the Alistar. Here, we're engaging onto the Jhin. A bit of anti-synergy here because I pushed the Jhin out of Leona's ulti. But Shyvana ends up just getting bursted by Mastery. I flash forward to get the kill onto Jhin. And here I'm going to just start blasting on Alistar. Sion goes in. I'm going to roll away to avoid his Q. And here I'm just, basically just blasting the Sion. And here I'm just going to use Sion Zombie to just lifesteal off of and slash maintain my stacks on my lethal tempo. And here you can see just blasting on the dragon, basically just lifestealing back to full health. With the whole enemy team dead with the exception of Lux, we should be able to get a free Baron as well in addition to the dragon. So long as it doesn't get stolen by an errant like Lux ult or something like that, we should be completely fine. So here, pretty easy secure on the Baron because we have double ADC plus Master Yi. This is like one of the fastest Barons of my life. And with the Baron buff, we're going to just quickly back and start building towards our next item. Of course, that is going to be Shield Bow. Honestly, I think at this point, I heavily actually considered just going for Twin Guard at this point because I felt that my damage was already enough. But I decided to go for the Shield Bow because Shield Bow, of course, gives us a little bit more damage, and the shielding effect is also going to be very helpful, but honestly, it wouldn't be even that bad of an idea to go for Twin Guard at this point. Here, my team basically just trolls because Master Yi is farming the jungle. Caitlyn is like, I don't know what she's doing. She's AFK there in our jungle, and we're basically not using the Baron buff at all. Now here, Fizz is finally pushing the top lane. I'm pushing mid lane together with Leona, and for some reason, Caitlyn comes here. Caitlyn, I think, in my opinion, should have just gone bot to stop Sion. Sion is just pushing with the Hull Breaker. I was hoping Caitlyn could go down to use her long range to just clear out minions, but I think she might be having internet issues or something like that because she doesn't really seem to be fully in the game. She's a little bit AFK or something like that. Anyways, here huge fight breaks out in the enemy base. Nice double stun by the Leona. Here I'm just trying to kill the first target, which is going to be Alistar. I'm going on to the Shyvana next. In the meantime, Mastery is actually just ending the game. So here I'm just actually farming damage slash kills. But yeah, there is the victory. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.